Welcome, Drink with James, episode 187. I feel like, should I start introducing myself? I feel like all the cool podcast host people introduce themselves, which is generally redundant because usually if you look at a late night host, it's usually like their name, like Late Night with Jay Leno or whoever did it, and they're always like, "Hi, I'm Jay Leno." But I do feel like if Michael Barbaro introduces himself every fucking day on the daily, then maybe I should say, "This is Drink with James. I'm James Nord," in case you've forgotten. So, episode 187. Welcome to episode 187 of Drink with James. I'm your host, James Nord. What are we going to talk about today? We are going to have another single topic episode today. And in the past, we talked about how to knock your next brand collaboration out of the park. And then we talked about kind of communication, how to just run the business side of that more effectively. This is going to be about how to actually improve the content that you're creating when you're working on sponsored posts, and some things that we are encouraging influencers to do more and more when it comes to the actual content they're creating, not the way that they're interacting in the partnership. So, should be an episode that you guys are super keen on. Before I jump into that though, on Wednesday we have For You in our office here in New York City. Sorry, we are not streaming it. We may record it as a podcast or something, but if you'd like to come and you didn't see an email, you can email Brian at 4.co. I'm sure there's a couple empty spots. We can sneak you in there. But Wednesday in our office, I will be talking about all the shit that people don't tell you that you need to know. We are focusing this event on influencers who have less than 50,000 followers. If that is not you and you still want to come, again, I'm sure we can make an exception. Just drop us an email. Anyway, I can be a little long-winded. I'm working on that. And so I'm not going to run my mouth anymore. We're just going to get into the episode. We're going to talk about how you can, after listening to this show, mere seconds after listening to this show, you can take the advice that I'm about to give you and I think create more compelling content specifically for your brand partners, but in general as well. So let's jump into it. So I don't know how many points we're going to have here, but let's jump into it. First, when creating content for a brand, obviously you want to be successful, right? You want the brand to be really happy. You want to be happy. You want your followers to be happy. Everyone's fucking happy. They're dancing around together like it's a midsummer party in Sweden. If you don't know what success looks like, it's impossible to create content that will create the action the brand wants, right? And so if you are thinking this is a campaign all about beautiful imagery and about storytelling and about escapism, and I'm just supposed to create this world, and it comes back later that the brand is actually tracking sales, well, then that post is probably not going to work really well. If you create content that's really focused on driving sales or driving an action, but what they wanted was beautiful imagery that can help shift their brand perception, that's not going to really work either, right? And so if you are not asking your brand partners, what does success look like for you? What is the metric that you, the person I'm working with, are going to be judged on so that I can create content to optimize for that thing, you're doing yourself a big disservice because you can't optimize for something that you don't understand. And if you get it wrong, it doesn't matter how good the content is, it wasn't the right kind of content, and so it's going to be seen as a failure. So you absolutely need to ask, what does success look like before you start? The next thing is that if you get the brief and you don't understand it, or you don't think it is the right thing for you, or you have another idea, absolutely push back. Absolutely feel free to say, hey, I've got another idea I think would make more sense for my audience. Willing to get on the phone to chat about it, or just write it out. Or hey, I'm not feeling super comfortable with this brief. Can you explain a little bit more? The way it's described feels really inauthentic, and authenticity is so important for me. If you're pushing back on a client because you want to create something great, not just to do the job. Because you got to remember, your job is not to publish a photo. It is to create an advertisement that creates action, right? Create an ad for a brand that sells more of their shit. That is your job. And if you feel like the way they're briefing you is not going to achieve that goal, and you don't bring it up, you do yourself a disservice. You know, I just recently heard this quote. I think it's an Army thing. They say, if you see something that is below standard and you don't bring it up, you have just set a new standard, right? And so if your standard is here and the brand's brief, you feel like it's going to bring you right here and you don't say shit, now your standard is here. You've set a new standard for yourself. You've just dropped yourself down, right? So you absolutely can push back on brands respectfully. If you're not comfortable with the brief, or if you have another idea, we would love to see more of that. I think the brand will be very open if they're willing to do your idea. Generally, we did an episode with Wendy's Lookbook. If you want to go back to that one, it was early on, but she pushes back all the time and rebriefs the client, and they almost always accept her idea over there. So don't be afraid to do that. Now, as you get to, you locked in, you're kind of locked in on a brief, you feel good about that, you get the product. You have to start to think like, what is the story that I'm going to tell, right? What is the story that I'm going to tell about this product that I think is going to create some action? And to do that, the first and most important thing is that you use the product. If you weren't already a customer of that product, then it's going to be impossible for you to tell an authentic, compelling story. And so this is something that we're working really hard on internally. It is not taking campaigns with too short of a runway. And I think as an influencer, you should 100% feel good about pushing back if you haven't had enough time to use the product. And I think if they say, I don't care, I don't have time for you to actually use this product and understand it, then I wouldn't do the campaign. Because how could you possibly suggest something to your audience if you haven't used it? And if you use it and you don't like it, there's no fucking way you should do the ad. There's no way, right? You only have your integrity. You only have your authenticity. When that runs out, your ability to create action in your audience will dissipate. When that goes away, your ability to sell ads will also go away. And so you have to stay true to that, and you have to be able to use these products and understand what they do. Because it's generally the little details that convince people. I heard something once about cars, and they were like, what sells a car? Is it the horsepower? Is it, any of these things, any of the big things, the gas mileage, the safety ratings, all of that. Is that what sells a car? Absolutely not. It's usually the little detail. It's when you start the car, the radio pops out of the fucking dashboard. Or it's a little fun thing it does, or it's a button that you push that can do this crazy thing, or you can change the lights in the interior on the computer, right? My brother just got a new car, and the logo lights up in the back in the seat, And when he showed me this car he bought, he's a surgeon, it's not a cheap car, that's what he showed me first, right? It's like a fucking race car, but he was like, look at the fucking light in the seat, right? It's the details, it's the little things that sell people. That's the shit that gets people to buy things. And so you need to be able to find those things, those little things, those little stories about the product, and be able to tell them. This pen I talked about last week, right? This is a gratuitously expensive pen. It should not cost what it costs. What I love about it is, this is a fine liner from Montblanc, is that when you write, there's a little spring in the felt tip. And when you write, you get it's almost like a shock absorber. And it kind of reacts to how much pressure you're putting on. And it feels unlike any pen you've ever used, and it totally feels magic. And so when people come in my office, I'll be like, write with this pen, try it. And they do, and they're like, holy shit, that's crazy. You're like, yeah, that's crazy, right? If I didn't use this pen and I talked about it, I would talk about the craftsmanship and all of that. But for me, what I love about the Montblanc is that little spring. And that is why that is what I think makes this pen so interesting. And it's So you have to understand those details. And so you have to use the product to understand those. And the other thing is that while we are telling a product story, that's not the whole story, right? And you need to link what is happening with this product. What does this product do for you? How does this product fit in your life? You need to attach that to some bigger story, right? Headspace is a client that we love, and I did a post about them. Their sleepcasts are so helpful for me. And I talked about how, I never had trouble sleeping my whole life, but recently with the, just how stressful and difficult it is to run this company, and the crippling anxiety that I feel almost every day, and the self-doubt and really like pants-shitting fear generally makes it hard for me to sleep, right? And I've just struggled to sleep over the last couple of years. And, sometimes I'm drinking whiskey to fall asleep, taking melatonin, like whatever it is. And that goes down a road that's decently unhealthy. And I talked about how Headspace Sleepcasts really helped me, that like it allows me to focus on something that isn't work, that isn't my mind spinning about everything I didn't do or all the ways that I might potentially fail, and puts me to sleep. And it's magic. And I love it, But I didn't just say Headspace helps me sleep. I talked about how running this business has really impacted the quality of my sleep, and how over the years I've been struggling to find a solution that wasn't a narcotic, honestly, to help me sleep, and how this thing has helped. And so it's the ability to tie your personal story to the story of what that product does that is so compelling. And that is what authenticity is. It feels real. It's a piece of you in that caption telling me why I should care about this product. Because I'm following you for you, not for this random ass product that you're talking about. And so give me a little piece of you, or teach me something, right? If you can't come up with a story that takes your story and connects it to the brand story, do some fucking research, When did the brand start? Who started it? We talk all the time when we're pitching clients. We get in a room and we say, okay, let's say it's Bic lighters. It's not, but I'm just looking at my bar cart over here and I see Bic lighters, right? I mean, I don't really, off the top of my hand, know much of a story about a Bic lighter other than it's there when I need to light a candle. So maybe I'll go and research it and say like, how did this company start? Did they invent lighters? I don't fucking know. Were they used in one of the world wars? You don't know, but like do some research, learn about the history of the brand, learn what makes them interesting, try and find something out. Because if you don't connect it to a personal story, you can teach me something about a product that I didn't know about, right? And that is interesting. Now you've given me value. I'm drinking some Japanese whiskey right now, right? When I started drinking Japanese whiskey 8 years ago, I did it because I thought the bottles looked cool. It was like $40 a bottle. Now that same bottle is $120 because whiskey, for the Japanese whiskey, they don't sell anything under 8 years. And so demand exploded. And when demand exploded, they couldn't just make more whiskey because they're 8 years behind understanding that demand. And so the Japanese whiskey market has exploded and has gotten so expensive because when you say, holy shit, we're selling a lot of them, you can't just make more. And so that scarcity is there, and it's driven the price up to these crazy levels. And it's caused these whiskey brands to do all this stuff to try and react to make more product. That's a story about a product that now maybe when you're drinking a Japanese whiskey, you can tell somebody, And those stories are powerful, but if you just say, if you just talk about just the product, a lot of times it's not going to be very interesting. And look, all of this is happening. Yes, we need the photo to connect to the story that you're telling. It can't just be totally disparate. Ideally, it's not totally disparate, I guess. I guess it can be, and that can be successful. I mean, the photo should get you to stop, and then the caption should get you to read. It's something to think about is like, how much time are you spending on your captions, right? And how many of you have texted a friend a photo or 2 photos and asked, hey, which one do you like more? Which one do I look better in? And, you know, your friends are kind and they tell you which one. Are you texting friends captions and saying, hey, does this make sense? Are you getting my point? Is this compelling? You know, are you spending that time? Are you writing your caption, sleep on it, wake up, look at it again? Because you should be spending really as much time as you are editing your photos, shooting, thinking about that, as you are writing that caption, creating that compelling story that's going to be memorable. And you know, David Ogilvy said, you know, most famous copywriters and ad men of all time, and I paraphrase, he said, when you see one of my ads, I don't want you to think it's creative. I want you to think it's so compelling that you buy the product, right? It's not about likes or comments and people being like, oh my gosh, goals, you look amazing, that's incredible. It's not even about going out and trying to beat Teza at her game and doing some crazy fucking shoot that's like this incredible editorial image, unless that incredible editorial image creates action, makes me feel a new way about a product, makes me want to buy that thing. That is your job. You know, your job is to sell product. And so what does success look like ultimately? You know, what we tell influencers a lot of times is like, we feel good when we look at the comments and there's a real conversation about the product happening in the comments. You know, not a fake one from influencer friends who are part of your comment pod, who know that it's a sponsored post and they log on and say, oh my God, those shoes are amazing, I need to go buy them. Everybody knows that's bullshit. Literally everybody. You're not fooling anyone. But when there's real customers and real followers having actual conversations about the product in the comments, that's when we know we've done a good job. And it's really hard to do that. But when you sit back and you start thinking about what story am I going to tell about this brand that is paying me to tell this story? Think about how am I going to create a conversation in these comments about the product. And if you can do that, and you can do it over and over and over again, I promise you will be quite successful in this space. Well, look, that is all on that. I hope you continue to enjoy the single topic episodes. If you feel like this is a better format than just asking random questions, let us know. But also, we always need questions, so continue to send those in. DM us, email Brian, comment on YouTube, comment on Instagram, you know, do whatever you need to do. Mail me a fucking letter if you want. Just attach it to a bottle of whiskey, please. We'll see you next week. Cheers. Hey, look, I have a 40-person company to run, and you know, we keep doing these things because you guys like them. But as always, helpful if you subscribe to our YouTube. Also, a lot of you don't know that this is also a podcast. So if you go to iTunes or Spotify or anywhere you get podcasts, you can subscribe and you don't have to look at my face anymore. You can just listen to me rant and rave. And maybe while you're there, you can leave us a review, because I think that is something that is supposedly helpful. So leave us a review. Tell me how great I am, how much I've helped you, how I've changed your life, how, you know, you'd be wandering through a meaningless darkness if you didn't listen to this podcast or watch these videos. Really anything, just riff. You guys can figure it out. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.